Cathal Quinn, thank you
Hiya,
so
Gary.
much for bringing me to Ginty's in Glasgow.
You're very welcome, Gary. You're very, very welcome.
I can feel the Celtic brothership coming through the walls.
Absolutely.
Tell me about Ginty's in
Uh,
Glasgow and how did we end up
Ginty's.
here?
Well, you asked me to bring you to my favourite pub, and yeah, look, Ginty's. For me, it's a memory. I moved to Glasgow when I was 19 years of age when I left school, and the first pub in Glasgow when I moved there, I had a pint in before I even got a job, was Ginty's. Yeah, it's extremely fond memories. Yeah, Ginty. It's in. I don't know if you know it.
I don't.
Ashton Lane in the West End of Glasgow. When I landed in Glasgow after my leaving cert and leaving cert holidays and all that crack, I wanted to go somewhere, and I had friends in Glasgow and family in Glasgow. So yeah, I went and I was staying in a hostel on Hillhead Street in Glasgow. And I asked where's the nearest pub, and they said there's Ginty's down there. So I went down and had a look. I thought, right, I'll go down for a pint later. But beforehand, I had applied for a couple of jobs in town. So the next morning, I had an interview in a pub, Waxy O'Connor's in central Glasgow. So I said I'd go to Ginty for a pint or two that evening. The last bit of the story is I didn't turn up to the interview the next morning because I had a hangover, and I went back to Ginty's for a cure, and she offered me a job, and I worked there for about 6 months afterwards.
Well, that last bit, you're going to have to cut that out of the book or whatever you're going to write when you're doing your memoirs, because that's the bit of luck that we forget about when we're trying to pretend that it's all got a big master plan. Talking about
Yeah.
books, right? So we all have a self-help book in us, don't we? So my wife tells me anyway, and you're writing one. What's it about?
Mistakes.
Mistakes. Okay.
Yeah. So my grandfather always said mistakes are okay as long as you learn from them. Just don't make the same one twice. So for me, the title of the book, very simple, would be Mistakes Are Okay.
I like that.
Especially looking at where we are right now in current times. Spend so much time beating ourselves up, and what are we doing wrong? And oh God, I should have done this, and I'm running late for me. Whatever it is, and
Yeah.
it's all right, as long as
Yeah.
we keep learning. I put a post up on LinkedIn the other day, and I was saying, it's something else I heard someone else say. I'm good at robbing what people say, by the way, other people's things to do, but
I've
was
made a
keep move.
career. I've made a career out of it. You're all right.
Yeah, you've done all right. Yeah, um, keep moving, keep improving, that sort of thing, or continue
Uh,
improving.
yeah.
Um, and I love that sort of stuff because I'm a great believer in it. So mistakes are all right. Let's learn from them, And that was my granddad. He was like, you'd be insane to think you're going to go through life without making mistakes.
Yeah.
But and he's what brought me back to Glasgow, by the way, because my granddad
Oh,
was a Glasgow man, living in Ireland for years, but he was from the Gorbals, working class central Glasgow, born and reared. So,
wow.
yeah, so
So he
yeah, that
understand. He was your translator, was he?
well, he was unfortunately, well, he was when I lived in Glasgow. He's actually still alive, but he was in Dublin at the time. But I had done good. I'd done a lot of stints as a young lad. I'd gone to Celtic Park a couple of times a year for a
Okay.
good few years. So yeah, Parkhead. So I'd spent a good bit of time in Glasgow over the years. I had family there, and
But it's really interesting because the thing about mistakes, you hear it in different guises, but it's what older lads call experience. It's just the
yeah,
label for all the
yeah,
mistakes. But I was listening to a podcast recently, and the dude was saying about failure, right?
okay,
And he was saying it's absolutely fine to fail, but always fail forward. I'd never heard it before. And what he meant was exactly what you said, is if you're going to fail and it brings you towards what you're trying to achieve, that's okay.
yeah,
If it fails backwards, it means that you're trying the same thing over and over and trying to get a different result. I don't know. I think that's what Einstein called insanity. So I like
yeah.
that. It's okay to fail because that again is sort of legacy was don't make mistakes. So the second question that I have here for you, productivity and motivation and all these things that we probably took for granted only 12 months ago.
Hmm.
And now that we're in this intermission Groundhog Day universe, how are you keeping it going?
Yeah, I think it's a funny one, isn't it? It's very hard right now to um to keep ourselves going. How are you keeping it going, and for me, it's trying to keep, how would I say, not difference. It's trying to keep change within the routine. So try and
Variety.
keep move. Yeah, variety. I think that's the word. Thank you. So
Okay.
yeah, I think, and I don't mean even like it's impossible to have variety because I'm in this same room I was in. Yeah, I'm in
You're in
Ginties, and
Jinkies now.
I know, and this is beautiful, and I actually need to do more background stuff because I looked around the room that I'm in, and unfortunately, and the only thing is that I should have thought about this, but I've got family in the house. But if I was in Ginties, I'd hope I wouldn't have one of these crowns on me because I'm sick of wearing it, you know. But um, but
No, but
I
it's the
the
variety. Yeah,
yeah,
variety.
variety, and even to keep moving, you know, keep the brain moving and keep doing different things. So I suppose the thing
Yeah,
for me, to answer that question, or how I don't even know if it is answering your question, but I think for me, one of the things I've started to do, and I've talked to you about this before, I've tried to keep like the routine. So outside this house, I need to get out. I need to keep moving. But
yeah,
I hurt my back. I hurt my back before Christmas running. I was trying to run and do a bit of training during COVID, and I was enjoying it. You know, listening to people like Shane from Tate and stuff like that. And I agree
oh
with it. It's
yeah.
great to do something, you know. And
Was painting the walls at the same time.
yeah,
You know
well,
what I'm saying?
he's probably painting the outside of the Phoenix Park as he's running around it, like, you know. But yeah, it'd take me a year to do that. But you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
um, but I hurt my back, and the physio says to me, you know, she said, look, you're gonna have to do something. You're sitting on video calls all day. She
Yeah,
says, you know, she said, would you not take more breaks? And I laughed at her. I was like, well, I'm not gonna take a break. So she says, would
yeah,
you not find a way to mix both? You know, um, so I started walking. You know, a colleague of mine, a customer of mine, actually said, you know, he's out walking a lot and he's doing about 20 kilometers a day. So I started walking as I was on the telephone, you know, and just making a list that early in the morning, you know, make a list of the phone calls I have to make that maybe don't
yeah,
involve pen and paper.
yeah,
And yeah, you know, and doing that so I'm getting the steps up and getting some fresh air in,
yeah.
just doing something different. And
Variety is
that
incredible,
was working really well, you know, and
but
it
it's
does work.
amazing. Variety,
Um,
and obviously then we know scientifically then that you get the endorphins and the
yeah.
serotonin and the skin and the whole
Hmm.
thing. But you mentioned, and we only have a few more seconds,
Mm,
but you mentioned earlier as well, having young kids
yeah.
gives you a sense of responsibility because you know this is a big chunk of their little lives.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's something also that the variety of their worlds, I guess, is also something, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's. I mean, for them, it's crazy at the moment. You know, I tend to go downstairs, you know, during the middle of the day, just to make a sandwich or do something and see them. And even I have to say, for me, actually, selfishly, seeing them home from school has been kind of nice because when I go down to make a sandwich, I'm seeing them, you know, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
great. Like, you know, although
yeah,
it's a killer for them, and you know, at the moment, I'm really seeing it now. My wife sees it more. She's stay-at-home mother. She's downstairs with them all the
yeah.
time, and yeah, they need that variety back in their lives. I feel for them, I really do. You know, for us, I think I said to you, you know, for us, this is 1/40th of my life. You know, I can deal with it. I should be able to get over it, you know, and
Right.
get through it. But for
Yeah.
them, it's such a big part. So we need to try and keep mixing things up for them as well, you know. And
Well,
God bless the stay-at-home parents that do that. My wife does it. Other people's wives and husbands are doing it, and yeah, the
yeah,
juggling is
we've a
incredible.
greater appreciation for a lot of different people in our society now. So,
Absolutely.
Cathal, it's been short and sharp. You brought
Yeah,
me to
absolutely.
Ginties. We walked in, we walked out. Wow, that was something else in a Glasgow pub. Thanks so
Enjoyed it.
much for your
Cheers,
time.
Gary.
Stay safe.
Brilliant.